6 Sinister Autopsy Secrets Exposed. Haunted details that terrorized medical examiners. The chill of the morgue washed over Claire as she stepped inside its sterile confines, an unsettling odor perfuming the air. 6 bodies lay beneath cold steel, their lifelessness whispering secrets she wasn't sure she wanted to uncover. Beneath her scrubs, she felt a cold sweat creeping up her spine. No one could prepare her for the dark truths hidden here. It was supposed to be just another night, but she had begun hearing stories that made the hairs on her arms stand on end. Accidents, they said. But in Briarwood, perhaps accidents were not what they seemed. Her heart raced as thoughts of her daughter, Mia, nestled safe at home, cut through the rising dread. She tried to focus on the task at hand, but the flickering lights overhead drew her into worry. Low whispers from fellow examiners haunted her ears. Stay away from the dead too long. The curse, it follows you. In the silence of the night, those words echoed painfully. Digging into her gut wasn't long before Claire started noticing patterns in the autopsies cases linked by something sinister. Men of power, each with charm that captivated the community. It was a relentless cycle circling around one man in particular, an eminent individual who walked the streets like a king. Yet beneath his polished surface lurked a shadow she dared not dissect just yet. Moments later, her phone buzzed with an ominous text. Leave Briarwood before it's too late. She laughed it off, attributing it to stress. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the night dragged on, Claire's eyes began to sting. A rhythmic tapping echoed down the corridor, growing louder, and just when she thought she could dismiss it as her imagination, a cold breeze slithered through, chilling her bones. The whispers surged again, gossip about who had disappeared among the dead. They linger too long, one whisperer had warned, and they become like them. Panic gripped her heart as she considered Mia. Dread settled as Claire received a call, only to hear a breath on the other end before it went dead. Her instincts kicked in, leading her home, but nothing prepared her for what awaited. The house, so familiar, felt utterly strange. Mia was missing, lost after staying at a friend's for a sleepover. Nightmare after nightmare unfolded in her mind as Claire banged on doors, screamed for help, and searched every shadowed corner of Briarwood. But her heart sank with a twist of despair with each minute ticking by, those mocking glances and half-hearted apologies trailing her to end sheer panic. She raced toward the outskirts of town where the cemetery loomed, a decrepit little plot whispered about in fear. Breezes swept through, carrying noises she couldn't decipher. Her pulse thundered in her ears as she thought about the allure of dark rituals, farming power at dire costs. Claire understood then Briarwood had woven a web too deep, with a heart beating with terror that could swallow anything in its path. Each shadow danced as if alive, and a haunting laugh cut through. A sound so familiar. Was it Mia? Claire's breath hitched as those soft whispers carried her name. In that moment, she realized, darkness may have risen in Briarwood, but she would not back down. She was a mother, and she wouldn't stop until she unearthed the twisted secrets that endangered her child. Would she be strong enough to face the horror lurking just beneath the surface? The cemetery loomed larger as Claire approached, each gravestone a monument to silence, each shadowed branch of the gnarled trees seeming to reach out. Her heart raced, harmonizing with the distant howls of the wind. The air felt thick and wrong, as though it were alive, watching, waiting. She had to find Mia. The whispers echoed again, tantalizing her ears. She's close. We see her. Panic coiled in her stomach. Stop it. Claire shouted into the darkness, anger spilling over her fear. The laughter persisted, playful yet tainted, sending chills crawling up her spine. It felt like the cemetery itself was in on some ghastly secret. Every grave was a clue, every shadow a possible hiding spot. She stepped forward, the crunch of twigs beneath her feet punctuating the silence. "Please, Mia." Her voice trembled, cracking under the strain. Each call sent waves of dread crashing over her. What if she wasn't there? What if the darkness consumed the last spark of light she held? Suddenly, a soft glow flickered near a cluster of ancient graves, illuminating the moss-covered stones. Claire hesitated only for a moment before charging toward it, dread shutting out every voice of caution in her mind. As she neared, she could see flickers of movement, figures dancing in the shadows. "What are you doing?" Claire's heart pounded as she edged closer. 7 figures cloaked in black chanted in a circle around a small fire. Their heads were bowed, and even from a distance, she felt the air thrum with a malicious energy. A scream threatened to escape her lips but was swallowed by the sinister melody. The figures began to sway, their voices weaving together a language older than Briarwood. It was familiar, but Claire couldn't place it. She felt disoriented as if pulled into their chant. Then she saw it, a small figure crouched inside the circle, huddled and still. "Mia?" Claire rushed breathlessly toward the scene, adrenaline propelling her forward. But as she stepped closer, the chanting rose with a deafening crescendo. An invisible force knocked her backward, sending her sprawling into the damp earth. Every instinct screamed to flee, but as she pushed herself back up, her gaze met Mia's. The girl's face was pale, eyes wide with fear but unseeing, as if caught in the spell of the dark ritual. Claire felt the ground shift beneath her feet, twisting away from her reach, the distance growing unbearable. In that horrifying moment, the chanting stopped, replaced by heavy silence, thick with anticipation. The figures turned toward her, their hoods falling back to reveal hollow eyes. "You should not have come here, Mother," one rasped, voice dripping with menace. Claire's breath quickened, fear coiling tighter around her throat. "Let her go," she shouted, fury igniting her courage. But in that moment, there was no bravery, only despair. Without warning, the ground beneath her heaved, and shadows seemed to thicken, pulling her toward the abyss. "Clary," Mia's voice echoed, not welcoming but distorted, sending chills racing through Claire's veins. Claire stumbled back, grasping for truth, desperate for a way out. The figures began to rise around her, hands outstretched, an invitation laden with darkness. Claire instinctively took a step back, but the ground refused to comply. The air grew sour as she felt herself being drawn into their ominous web. In that heartbeat, it dawned on her the curse was far from over. No longer was it just an eerie legend whispered among the living. It was a reality she now had to confront. Could she save Mia before the darkness consumed them both? The question hung in the air, heavy with dread. As the figures moved in closer, Claire understood this was just the beginning of an unspeakable horror. What awaited her in the grip of those shadows? The shadows pulsed around Claire, swirling like fog, thick with malevolent energy. She staggered back, almost losing her footing on the uneven ground. Mia remained still, eyes locked on the fire, as if entranced. The chilling rasp of the figures' voices echoed in the stillness. "You cannot save what is already lost. Stop." Claire's voice cracked, desperation clawing at her insides. She lunged forward again, fighting against the suffocating atmosphere closing in around her. The figures moved as one, their eyes gleaming with a hunger that made Claire's skin crawl. Just then, an anguished cry pierced the heavy silence, not Mia's, but a voice that rang with authority. "Stop this!" A woman stepped out from the trees, draped in layers of tattered fabric. Her hair hung wild around her, like a dark halo. "She's not what you want." Claire had never been so grateful for anyone in her life. Hope sparked, pushing back the shadows. "Who are you?" she shouted, barely able to hear her own voice over the pounding of her heart. "I'm here to end their game, to save her." The woman's eyes blazed, locking onto Mia. "You have to trust me." Claire didn't know how to respond. Could she trust this stranger? But there was no time for doubt. The figures shivered with impatience, moving closer, their chanting dark and rhythmic. The woman raised her arms, and a pulse of light erupted around her. pushing back the shadows, with a courage she hadn't felt moments before. Claire charged toward Mia, the light barely illuminating the path ahead. She reached into the circle, her fingers curling around Mia's wrist. The girl's skin was cold, clammy, and for a moment, the chanting grew louder, deafening in its insistence. "Mia, please, come back to me," Claire screamed, shaking her daughter as if her touch could pull her from the clutches of the dark ritual. Mia blinked, confusion flickering in her eyes. "Mom?" It was small, a whisper almost lost to the undulating darkness. The figures recoiled slightly, as if caught off guard. In that fleeting moment, hope surged, but the dark shapes tightened their grip, the air thickening again. "She belongs to us," they chanted in unison, voices rising above the woman's bravery. "No," Claire shouted, desperation filling her with strength. "She's mine." The woman launched forward, a scream ripping from her throat. "Focus, Claire. Draw her to the light." Claire's heart raced, and all she could think of was the warmth of Mia's laughter, her playful spirit. "Fight it, sweetheart. Fight for us." Suddenly, the fire in the center of the circle blazed higher, casting an eerie glow. Claire felt Mia's pulse quicken beneath her fingers, a response to her words. The figures shrieked, their faces twisted into grotesque masks of rage and despair. Just as Mia began to stir, the ground beneath them trembled violently. Claire stumbled, holding tight to her daughter, but the pull of the ritual was powerful. The woman's outstretched arms flickered as if the power was waning. "Not like this. We can't lose." The other figures howled, and the earth split, an abyss yawning wide, threatening to swallow them whole. "Mia, look at me." Claire's voice grew frantic. "I'm right here. Don't let them take you." As Mia's gaze focused, something shifted in the air. A frail light began to flicker faintly between them, and for the first time, the chanting wavered. The figures hesitated, uncertainty crossing their hollow faces. Then the air split with Mia's scream. "No, no, I want my mom." Her voice pierced the veil of darkness. Claire felt the ground shift beneath her, separate from the abyss. It was the first time hope had managed to breach that oppressive dread. But just as victory seemed within reach, the darkness retaliated, intensifying, as if it made a final desperate attempt to claim its prize. "Leave us." Claire's shout turned into a guttural roar, fueled by primal fear and love. The moment hung in the air, an ultimatum filled with uncertain promise. Would this be enough? Could she tether her daughter to the light? As the figures lunged, the fabric of reality bent. The woman's light flickered, uncertainly, shadows closing in around them. The ground roared, engulfing everything in darkness. Did they stand a chance amid the unrelenting terror? The answer rested on the precipice of despair, inviting a confrontation that could change everything. Would Claire lose Mia entirely, or find her in a battle of light against darkness? Claire felt herself teetering on the edge of some unfathomable void, the darkness swirling around her like a living entity. The air thickened, each breath a struggle as the figures surged forward, their shapes writhing, hunger etched into their twisted features. "Mia." Claire tightened her grip, but the weight of the shadows seemed to pull her daughter away, inch by agonizing inch. The woman in tattered fabric looked back, her face a mask of concentration, but Claire could see the fear in her eyes. The shadows were not just a threat. They were an insatiable hunger, eager to consume. "Trust in the light," the woman shouted, her voice a fierce beacon against the encroaching dark. With every ounce of her strength, she summoned another pulse of light, and Claire felt a flicker of warmth radiate in the chilling atmosphere. But the figures shrieked, their voices a maddening choir. "You cannot win." They lunged, grasping tendrils twisting through the air like serpents seeking flesh. "No." Claire surged forward, the familiar bond between mother and daughter anchoring her. "Mia, look at me." Her heart raced, a wild drum echoing in her ears. She focused on the warmth of their shared memories, the cozy nights, the laughter, the stories they had spun together. "Please come back." As if responding to her raw plea, Mia's eyes began to clear, a flicker of recognition shining through the veil. The shadows hesitated, their grotesque faces momentarily faltering. "You belong with me," Claire said, voice rising with certainty. "Not with them." She took a step closer, feeling an electric pull that intertwined the threads of light and darkness. The abyss rumbled, groans of despair emanating from its depths like the bowels of a beast awakening. Suddenly, the earth beneath them convulsed, gravel flying as fissures split the ground. Claire felt Mia slip but held on tight. "Fight, sweetheart, fight." Mia's fingers twitched, cool and sticky against Clara's skin. The fire erupted again, blinding and fierce, bathing the scene in crimson light. The chanting of the figures turned frantic, desperation clawing at their voices. "No, no," Mia cried, pulling away from the grip of shadows, her face twisting in fear. Claire felt Mia's spirit waver, the dark entities grasping at her, eager to drag her back into the folds of their dread. "Stop!" Claire screamed, a primal roar fueled by love and fear. "She is not yours." The light flared brighter, and for a split second, Claire could see the path flashing before her away through the chaos. "Run to me. I'll protect you." She extended her hand, waiting, praying, but then, as if in response to her defiance, the shadows coiled tighter, their howls growing shrill. "Let her go," they bellowed, their voices echoing through the void, a chorus of despair. Just then, Claire glimpsed something dark rising above them, a monstrous figure, larger and more menacing than the rest. It towered, eyes glowing like burning coals, fixing its gaze upon Mia. Claire felt her blood run cold. This was not just a struggle for Mia but a confrontation with something far worse. "Mia!" Claire's voice cracked as she flung herself toward her daughter. The figures lunged, teeth gnashing, blades of cold air cutting through the light. The woman's voice rang out. "Claire, focus." But Claire's heart thundered with dread. What if it was all in vain? Would they lose everything in this dance with shadows? Mia's expression shifted again, fear melting into desperation. "Mom, I don't want to disappear." Terror seized Claire. Could she even grasp the truth behind this looming darkness? Ignoring the darts of anguish, Claire reached into her soul, invoking every ounce of love she held for her daughter. "You will not take her." In that crucial moment, the first shards of disbelief shattered. But the entity loomed, darkness swirling in rage as the ground began to shake violently. Would they fall, consumed by the very shadows Claire fought to defeat? Was this the final moment, or merely the beginning of a hell they had only begun to fathom? The truth of the darkness lay heavy in the air, weaving through the chaos, waiting to strike. Was there a way back, or did they fight to the bitter end? Claire's grip faltered as the monstrous figure advanced, its burning eyes boring into her soul. Each step felt like an eternity, the horrifying visage stretching toward them. Instinct screamed for her to run, to flee the encroaching nightmare. But she stood still, rooted by the realization that she could not abandon Mia. "Mom!" Mia shrieked, her voice splintering under the weight of fear. The shadows swirled, their twisted forms beckoning, promising what she feared most. Claire's heart sank, torn between safety and the desperate fight for her daughter's life. "Hold on, Mia. I'm coming." The words felt feeble, lost in the chaos. Claire summoned all her remaining strength, her voice cutting through the din. The glow around the woman pulsed, a rhythmic heartbeat battling against the clamor of darkness. "Claire, use the light," she shouted, the energy cascading from her fingertips, pushing against the dark like a shield. The air crackled as Claire closed her eyes, summoning every shard of hope and love she had for her daughter. "You are a light, Mia." Mia's fingers twitched again, the fleeting warmth igniting something within. Claire could feel it, a flicker of determination, a defiance stirring in her daughter's spirit. But the shadowy figure towered above them now, an avalanche of terror ready to descend. "You will become part of us," it hissed, the voice sibilant and cold, echoing the cruelty of a world without light. "No," Claire cried, focusing her gaze on Mia, her heart pounding like a war drum in her chest. We're stronger together. Fight! The shadows shrieked, an otherworldly cacophony splitting the air as they swiped with clawed hands, each movement sending ice-cold shivers racing down Clara's spine. Mia shook her head, tears streaming down her face. I can't. Yes, you can, Claire yelled, daring to step further into the unforgiving void. Remember our times at the lake? The warmth of the sun? You are fearless. For a brief moment, the shadows hesitated. Claire felt hope surging. Could they really break through? The light around the woman intensified, pushing outward like a beacon. Mia, Claire called again, pushing through the noise of despair. Their memories swirled between them, a maelstrom of laughter, smiles, and safety, clinging to her like a lifeline as if summoned by the flame of her words. Mia's eyes widened, a small glimmer igniting. I want to let go, she shouted, her voice rising defiantly amidst the shadows. A fierce pulse erupted from their combined energy. The ground shifted violently, and the cold air thickened, swirling into a chaotic storm of shadows. But somewhere amidst the tumult, light broke through. Claire felt her heart surge. This was their moment. But in a heartbeat, something shifted. The entity, enraged, unleashed a blast of darkness that engulfed the flickering light. Claire gasped as the world around them spun, everything beneath her collapsing into an abyss. Mom! Help! Mia cried, her voice fading as shadows closed in around her. Mia! No! Claire lunged forward, an instinctive surge. Her fingertips brushed Mia's, but darkness gripped her wrist, pulling her back. The entity towered, encompassing them in an oppressive veil. She will be mine, screamed. Clara's pulse raced, terror coursing through her veins. She needed to fight. There was no choice left. Remember, she breathed, desperate. You are not alone. You are light. But as the shadows tightened their hold, she felt a shiver creep down her spine. Had she just sealed their fate? Or was this merely the beginning of a nightmare they could not escape? What now? She thought in anguish. Just then, the whispers encased her mind, the ancient voices seeping into her consciousness. Was there a truth she had yet to unveil? Would they face an end? Or did salvation lurk unseen in the dark? The shadows roared, readying to crush everything she loved. Panic reached its peak. Would she lose her daughter to this hell? In that dark moment, Claire could only wonder. Who would emerge victorious when shadows blinded the truth? The darkness pressed in, suffocating and tangible, like a thick fog that refused to lift. Clara's heart pounded violently in her chest as she strained against the shadows wrapping around her like a vice. Panic clawed at her throat. Mia's voice pierced the gloom, fading with every breath. Mom! The echo hung heavy, stretching painfully as if the darkness itself held Mia hostage. Fight it, honey! Please! Clara's voice cracked, desperation tearing through her. The oppressive weight of the shadows pulled at her spirit, urging her to give in, but she couldn't. She wouldn't. Rage surged within her, igniting her spirit like a spark in a windstorm. She focused on that light, on the love pouring from her heart. You are not theirs, Mia. You are light. You are full of hope. With each word, Claire felt warmth braiding between them, a fragile connection against the consuming darkness. Mia, somewhere within that storm, echoed her mother's sentiment, grasping that thread with all her strength. Mia's voice rang with sudden clarity. The shadows recoiled slightly, a flicker of recognition dancing in their midst, but it wasn't enough. The entity, an ever-watchful predator, recoiled at the sound, teeth bared, a deep, unsettling growl reverberating from the pit of its being. Enough! It hissed, lunging forward. The shadows writhed, eager appendages slashing closer to Claire, threatening to sever the bond. Mia! Claire shouted, stepping deeper into the fray. She'd become a beacon, her skin almost glowing against the backdrop of crumbling darkness. Take my hand. We will fight. With a flick of her wrist, she conjured the warm memories before her. Days spent at sun-kissed lakes, bursting into laughter, Mia wading in the shallows, joy radiating like sunlight. She grasped tightly to that feeling, willing the shadows to crumble, to shrink away under the brilliant glow of their shared love. As Mia's fingers finally intertwined with Claire's, a shockwave of energy shot through them. The glowing aura amplified, a shield against the malevolence surrounding them. The shadows shrieked, a chorus of despair threading through the air, trembling as the light broke the enveloping darkness. But just then, a piercing scream pierced through the darkness, a voice from the past that clawed at Claire's memories. "You can't escape," it echoed, matching the chilling laughter of the entity. The shadows twisted, shapes morphing into those of lost loved ones, people from Claire's past who had warned her. Faces she had recognized mirrored their torment. "Join us," they rasped, voices intertwined in a specter of agony. Claire's heart plummeted. "No, this is a trick." Each visage, etched with hatred, surged toward her, clutching at her with skeletal hands. "Mia, don't look," Claire yelled, squeezing her daughter's palm tighter, afraid to let go. The warmth of Mia's hand was the only thing tethering her to reality as the whispers surrounded them, echoing their fears, trying to drown them in despair. But Mia remained steady. "We're stronger together. Remember?" "Yes, remember." Claire matched Mia's fierce spirit, feeling the potency of their bond radiating outward. The entity screeched and raged, its form unfurling menacingly. "You think you can resist? You will all belong to me." Claire felt the darkness constrict even more, but something deep inside began to stir a primal urge to survive. This was more than a fight for light. It was about the very essence of who they were. With renewed determination, she channeled every scrap of strength, calling upon all love, all memories. "We will never be yours." And then the light grew blinding. It pierced through the howls of anguish, illuminating the swirling shadows in the vast chasm of dark. But before Claire could understand the impact, the ground gave way beneath them. Felt like they were being swallowed whole. She screamed, reaching for Mia, whose terrified eyes mirrored her own understanding of impending doom. "Claire." The darkness closed in, and just as the light blared, it was all gone. Was this the end? Had they plunged into an eternal abyss? Trust was the final whisper she felt wrap around her thoughts, the warmth of an embrace amidst the void. As cold winds howled around them, Claire realized what lay before her might not be merely death, but something far worse. Something that watched, waiting for them to awaken. What awaited them in the depths of this chilling darkness? Would they find each other again, or would the shadows consume all? Lights flickered like dying stars, barely illuminating the endless void where Claire and Mia had fallen. The air thickened, draping around them like a heavy shroud. Claire's heart raced, an echo of fear battering against her ribs. The last remnants of their fight against the darkness faded into nothingness, leaving behind only an unsettling stillness that wrapped around them like chains. "Mia," she gasped, her voice trembling, barely slicing through the oppressive silence. "Are you here?" Silence. Just as the question fizzled away, a distorted whisper slithered through the shadows. "Mommy," the voice crawled into Claire's ears like ice, chilling her bones. It was Mia, but it echoed unnaturally, stretched and warped. Fear rippled down her spine. "Mia, I'm here. I'm coming." Claire reached out, but the darkness was unnerving, alive. She felt something brush against her ankle, a cold caress that sent her heart thundering. It was alive, and it was waiting suddenly. A great wash of cold wind billowed through the void, stirring the shadows. The whispers rose, swirling around her with malicious intent, wrapping tighter and tighter. "You think you can escape?" they hissed, their voices rising in a cacophony of hatred. "I won't let you take her," Claire screamed, her hands balling into fists, one hand still reaching for Mia. The shadows twisted, clawing at her, testing her resolve. She could feel something inside her flicker, a defiant spark yearning to fight back. "Mia, hold on to me." But she felt nothing, the distance between them an abyss. Just then, a blinding flash illuminated the void for a brief moment. Shadows recoiled, giving Claire a glimpse of where she stood. A realm twisted by pain, adorned with countless eyes watching her, their gaze hungry. They glimmered like stars in a dead sky, filled with malice. "Mia!" Claire cried again, panic clawing up her throat. It seemed to resonate with the malevolent force that watched her. The air pulsed with it, thick like fog. Below her, the ground rippled like disturbed water. Claire felt dizzy, nausea rising as the world swayed violently under her feet. "No, no, no." She stumbled, struggling to keep her balance, her mind racing. "Please, please let her be safe." Then, as if summoned by her dread, a figure formed through the thick shadows. It loomed larger and larger, a grotesque silhouette made of writhing tendrils. Claire's breath caught in her throat. Her instincts screamed to run, but there was nowhere to hide. "Mia," the figure croaked, distorting the name into a mockery of her daughter's voice. Claire's heart sank. "This one isn't strong enough to save you. Stay away from her." Claire roared, the fire in her chest igniting again. The shadows seemed to hesitate, but the entity laughed, a hideous sound that sent ice stabbing through her veins. "I'll show you what true darkness is, what you will become if you fail." Claire steadied her breath, fighting back tears. Used to dark times, a fierce resolve bloomed within her. "Mia needs me," she declared, recalling her daughter's radiant smile and their shared laughter. "I will fight no matter what." The ground quaked in response, the shadows boiling beneath Claire's feet. They held untold horrors, past tragedies echoing through her mind. She gritted her teeth, refusing to let the dark memories shatter her. "Not now. Not ever." The figure loomed closer, the entity's voice twisting her thoughts. "Join us. Join all the lost ones trapped inside. It's so much easier on this side." At that moment, a burst of light surged from Claire's very core, fueled by sheer determination. The shadows screeched, recoiling from the unexpected brilliance. "I am not lost," Claire shouted, bolstered by the memories of love that lit her soul. But just as she began to convert that light into defense, a thunderous roar erupted, crystallizing her fears. The figure lunged, its claws extended, and darkness erupted, threatening to swallow her whole. "Trust," echoed the whisper again, familiar yet haunting. Had they survived it all? Would Claire's spirit be enough to protect Mia from this abyss? Or would the darkness pull them apart in ways they couldn't even imagine? "Mom!" Claire heard Mia's voice, faint and desperate, breaking through the chaos. But what lay ahead remained uncertain. A mirage of hope amidst a realm of despair. What would emerge from the shadows? And would Claire's light be enough to guide them home? The chaos enveloped Claire as the darkness lunged for her, its claws grazing the edges of her light. She felt the cold tendrils wrap around her wrist, pulling her backward into the void. Panic surged, a primal scream lodged deep within her throat, but she bit it back. Her heart thudded, pounding against the walls of her chest like a caged animal desperate for freedom. "Mia!" she cried again, but the sound fizzled into nothingness. The shadows throbbed, pulsing with a hunger that was palpable, tearing at the seams of her resolve. The figure continued to morph, shifting from a nightmarish silhouette to a grotesque reflection of what she feared the most: a twisted visage of failure. "You cannot win," it hissed, its voice a cacophony of familiar tones mixed with wicked laughter. "You will become one of us, lost in the dark. Forever." "No!" Claire shouted. She focused, drawing on memories of warmth, of laughter, of the bond she shared with Mia. The light within her brightened, illuminating the shadows just enough to see. The ground trembled beneath her. The eyes watching her twitched with newfound dread at her defiance. Suddenly, Mia's voice pierced through the cacophony, a clarion call of hope. "Mom! I'm here!" The voice was stronger now, igniting a flicker of energy in Claire. "Mia, where are you?" she gasped, her heart racing faster. The shadows recoiled again, sensing the growing power within Claire, the power of a mother's love. Just ahead, Mia's voice wrapped around her, guiding her through the abyss. Claire squinted into the impenetrable dark, her body itching to move, to run, to save her daughter before the darkness consumed them both. The entity tightened its grip on Clara's wrist, fangs glimmering with malevolence. "You'll never see her. You'll never escape," it shrieked, the ground vibrating violently. But Claire was done listening. With a primal yell, she swung her other arm wide, and an explosion of light erupted from her palms, expanding outward in a blinding arc. The shadows screeched and fell back, shadows dissolving like smoke, the laughter shriveling away. "Mia!" She hurled herself forward, taking a step into the unknown. She fought against the force trying to trap her, embracing the light swirling around her. It was an inferno of courage ignited by a simple truth. "I will find you." Just as she surged forward, the darkness shrieked in agony, recoiling further, though not without trying one final assault. Another pulse of murky energy kneed Claire in the gut. She gasped, falling to one knee as pain jolted through her. Fear, doubt thoughts clawing at her mind, threatening to rend her spirit. Mamma Mia's voice was fading, mixed with terror, becoming weaker by the second. "Hold on, sweetie. I'm coming," Claire roared, forcing herself back up. She had to reach her, there had to be a way. In that moment, Claire spotted a flicker of light ahead, a faint glimmer illuminating the unending dark. Heart racing, she sprinted toward it, muscles screaming in protest. As she dashed forward, she could feel the shadows clawing at her ankles, and whispers filled the air, each draped in threats and promises of despair. The tendrils churned, writhing in anger. "You're too late," they taunted. "Your bond will break and then you will understand true suffering." Claire stumbled, fall threatening under the weight of the shadows. But as she finally reached the source of light, she felt an unyielding force pulling her forward, the raw love for her child, gravitational, undeniable. "Mia!" Clara's voice echoed through the void, the light around her expanding into a beacon. But just as she felt hope swell in her chest, the ground beneath her split open. A swirling abyss erupted from below, and she was teetering on the edge, grappling with the decision, the overwhelming fear of losing everything again. "Mom, please!" Mia's voice was now frantic. "Don't let go." What lay ahead threatened to obliterate the fierce strength Claire had mustered. With a scream of defiance and sorrow, she lunged toward the crackling light, knowing the darkness would not allow her escape easily. Would love be enough to pull them together, or would the yawning chasm of terror claim them both? As the shadows converged, Claire braced herself, and overwhelming dread gripped her heart tighter than ever. Would she sacrifice herself to save Mia, or would the darkness finally win? Claire plunged into the light, the abyss shifting beneath her, threatening to swallow her whole. Time distorted. She felt weightless, suspended between two worlds, the chaos of the void and the warmth of her daughter's voice. "Mia!" She screamed again, desperate. But as she descended, the light flickered. The tendrils of darkness lunged skyward, grasping her ankles, pulling her back. All was chaos. "Mom!" Mia cried, her voice echoing with urgency. But it was muffled, swallowed by the roiling darkness. Claire twisted, fighting against the icy grip that threatened to snatch her back into desolation. A surge of desperation surged through her veins, igniting her very soul. "No, I will not let go," she shouted, pushing against the dark force with every ounce of strength. In that moment, she felt it, a connection, a tether to Mia. It shimmered like a gossamer thread, tenuous but unbreakable. She focused, summoning the strength of a mother's love, every heartbeat syncing with the name she called. "Mia, I am coming." The ground beneath her began to quake, fissures cracking open like the earth was alive, writhing with intense rage. Flickering silhouettes danced around her, drawn from the very shadows that threatened to consume her. They mocked her with fractured eyes, grinning, howling promises of despair. "You think love will save you?" they hissed, voices sinking into malicious laughter. But Claire refused to listen. With each struggle, she felt a surge of warmth emanating from within. Together, she yelled, pulling from the depths of her being. The earth trembled, and the shadows writhed like snakes disturbed. Yet the darkness was not done. With a final, desperate lash, it encircled her waist, squeezing with icy precision. Claire gasped, the chill penetrating her core. She shut her eyes tight, summoning one last memory of Mia's laughter, a joyous sound like a warm summer day. "Mama!" The voice was clearer now. It rang through the chaos, pulling her in like a lifeline. Suddenly, the ground beneath her split open wider, revealing a pulsating maw of shadow, eager to consume her whole. Claire fought back, her heart racing against the terrifying cadence of the void. "No!" she screamed, pushing against it, forcing her body forward toward the ethereal light that seemed to dim with each passing second. "Mia, I'm close." The words reverberated through the void, filled with urgency. "Come to me, Mom, please." Mia's voice shook with terror, a haunting echo that spurred Claire into action. She reached out, fingertips grazing the warm pulse of light. It felt like fire, scorching yet purifying, a promise of safety. Then, in an instant, everything shattered. The weight of the darkness pulled Claire back, a final, crushing force wrenching her from the light. She felt herself falling, spiraling into the depths of despair. "No, no, no," she gasped, the ground vanishing beneath her feet. The screams of those trapped echoed around her, a cacophony of broken dreams and lost souls, threatening to suffocate her spirit. And then, just as the abyss threatened to swallow her whole, Claire's eyes flew open. The familiar warmth returned, the bond with Mia creating a shimmering path through despair. She was a flicker of light in an ocean of darkness. "Mama, I won't give up." The determination in Mia's voice melded with Claire's rising courage. But as Claire prepared to leap toward the light once more, a terrifying realization washed over her. The shadows were turning towards Mia, gazing hungrily. "Mia, run!" Claire cried out, panic clawing at her heart. The shadows shifted like a storm brewing, preparing to snatch at her daughter. "Mama, I won't leave you." There was a resolve in Mia's voice, but Claire could see the shadows' glinting hunger increase. Time blurred and twisted again, but Claire surged forward, pulling every last ounce of her strength. Would she be strong enough to save them both? As she sprinted toward the light, she felt the shadows grasping at Mia, and the sound of their sinister whispers closed in around them. How could she stop it? The air was thick with terror, the very ground alive with darkness. Would love be enough to fend off the looming threat? "Mama!" Mia's scream pierced through the chaos, and Claire felt her heart shatter, not knowing where the next moment would take her. Could she reach Mia before it was too late? Or would darkness snuff out the last remnants of their light? The shadows roared as they lunged, a tempest of darkness consuming everything in their path. Claire felt the familiar cold grip of despair wrap around her heart. She fought against it, pushing forward with every ounce of strength she had left. "Mia!" she cried out, her voice filled with raw panic as she spotted her daughter, standing frozen amidst the swirling chaos. Fear radiated off Mia in waves, her wide eyes reflecting the horrors that encroached upon them like hungry beasts. The entity towered over them, its jagged edges glowing with a sinister light, eyes burning with malice. "You cannot save her," it howled, its voice a pitch that sliced through Claire's resolve. But Claire burned with a fierce love, a fire ignited by a mother's instinct to protect. "I will not let you take her," she shouted, her voice a roar, a shield against the darkness. The words erupted from her, fueled by memories of laughter, of holding Mia tight after bad dreams, of afternoons spent baking cookies that filled their home with sweetness. She remembered their laughter, the warmth of Mia's small hand in hers. "You are light. You are brave," Claire called, reaching deep within herself, summoning all the love that had built their bond into something unbreakable. In that moment, a breathtaking glow flickered around them, an aura conjured by their shared memories and unyielding spirit. The icy grip of fear faltered as the warmth enveloped Mia, breaking through the trance of shadows that had captivated her. "Mom!" Mia shouted, clarity returning to her eyes. "Yes, that's it," Claire yelled, her own heart freeing itself from the clutches of despair. "Come to me. Feel the light." With a newfound strength, Mia stepped closer, her legs moving as if compelled by Clara's love. The space between them shrank, every heartbeat echoing like a drumbeat of hope. The shadows shrieked, recoiling from the brilliance that radiated from their bond. Yet the entity, furious and thrashing, launched itself towards them, fingers like daggers of dread slicing through the air. "You'll regret this," it howled, the voice reverberating like a thunderstorm. Clara's pulse quickened. They wouldn't have much time. She grasped Mia's hand, feeling the warmth ignite her hope into a blazing force. "Together now," she shouted, their hands fitting together like two puzzle pieces ready to take on the dark. With one collective breath, they pulled from the depths of their hearts, channeling every memory, every beautiful moment they had shared. Light burst forth, illuminating the shadows, pushing back against the suffocating despair that had threatened to swallow them whole. In that moment, the entity shrieked, a sound that pierced the darkness. "No, you cannot escape." But they were not afraid anymore. The darkness writhed around them, howling and twisting, grasping blindly as Mia and Claire surged forward into the light enveloping them. The shadows thinned, and with each step, their bond drove the horrors back, dimming the cacophony of despair that had engulfed them. "Mom, we're almost there," Mia shouted, her voice a beacon pulling Claire closer. "Yes, keep going," Claire urged, the warmth surging within her every time Mia smiled. They were unstoppable. Together, because of the love that had faced the darkness, they drew the sword of their hopes and dreams and plunged it into the abyss. In one final surge, light swirled and then everything went white. Time spun differently, and when the light dimmed, Claire found herself standing on familiar grass, outside their home. She felt the warmth of the sun bathing her face, the gentle breeze welcoming her back. "Mia!" She turned in frantic circles, panic slicing through her anew. But then there she was, her daughter standing right by her side, radiant and whole. "Mom!" Mia laughed, the sound like music to Clara's ears. Tears poured from Clara's eyes as she swept Mia into her arms, engulfing her in an endless embrace. It was a moment humming with joy, relief flooding through her like a river rushing through a canyon. They had emerged from the darkness, forged brighter, together. But the battle had changed them. They looked out over Briarwood, the haunting shadows lingering like distant memories, a creeping dread that they would never fully escape. Now they knew they had to guard their town, their lives against whatever lurked in the corners of the night. "I won't let you go again," Claire whispered, her voice thick with emotion. Mia nodded, heart swelling with promise. "We're a team forever, Mommy." The day opened before them, vast with possibilities as they walked hand in hand, ready to face anything together. This was their beginning anew. Briarwood, with its mysteries and shadows, would remain vigilant, but the light of love would guide every step they took. The shadows may try again, but now Claire had the strength of a mother's love, and it would never falter. And that, she realized with resolution, was the truest power of all. So, don't you dare hesitate now. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm, because your support matters. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this intense ending. Instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second. Only true fans understand the importance of standing strong together.